Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and I'm here to bring you the latest and greatest gaming news of the week. This is episode 339, broadcasting live on November 8th, 2025. Not a whole lot of news this week. And the news we did get is about 50% depressing, and the other 50% are Vampire Survivors clones. So it'll be an interesting episode today. And then as far as the review, we're gonna talk about Whispers in the Well. So Lorcana fans out there, we'll have some discussion of that as it's out now. It's finally here. So hope everyone has had a great week. I've been playing more Valheim the board game, so both with my son and with my D&D group as I think it's going to become our sort of off night game. So when we don't have enough players to show up for D&D, when we don't get a full group, we'll often pull out a board game and do that. And I think Valheim, with its campaign mode, might become the new thing. We were playing Mythwind. Mythwind's great. I love Mythwind. It's really hard when it's really in that, like, Mythwind works best if you play it regularly, and fairly frequently, just because there's a lot of mental load on how to play each of the characters, whereas Valheim's much easier to understand. And it's also, it has a discrete playtime of like about 2 hours. Whereas Mythwind, it doesn't really have an end time, so it's usually like you play through a season, in a single play session, but then, it might be a month and a half before we end up playing something again, or ideally longer in between, because that means that we're actually playing D&D or Daggerheart. So Valheim, I think, is going to switch over, because it's so much easier to pick up. Like I was able to play it with my 5-year-old. So just to throw that out there. And we so over at our local game shop, we had our Whispers in the Well pre-release sealed tournament today. Did not do well. And I also didn't really get any of the cards that I needed, which is probably, winning or not winning in the sealed tournament, whatever. It's the prizes are, you get $5 store credit per win, and $2.50 if you tie. So whatever, it's a difference of like $15 in store credit. Yeah. Like, obviously it's great if you get it, but it's whatever. So but before I continue rambling on any further, why don't we get into this week's news topics so that we can talk more Lorcana later. All right, so first up, IGN reports that GTA 6 is once again delayed until November 19th, 2026. So for those of you who have been waiting for it, there's still even more stuff is going to come out before GTA 6. However, I think the bigger news is Rockstar. It was either Rockstar or Take-Two fired somewhere between 30 and 40 employees in the UK. What they claim is gross misconduct for leaking like internal information to third parties. All those employees are union employees. And they claim the situation was the claim is that they're in a Discord group on a server for their union, and that there are non-company people in this Discord group. And the claim from Rockstar is that that they leaked, private company information to the non-company members in this union group. But the folks who were fired insist that what they were sharing was like union business. So yeah, the union stating this is a clear case of union busting. So yeah, this is a big controversy. So yeah, I think that's the bigger news than GTA 6 is getting delayed again, because that's not news. That's just, it's another week, and therefore it's delayed further. And I mean, here's the thing. I mean, at least it has a release date. You know what doesn't have a release date still is the Elder Scrolls 6. That one that got revealed like back in, what was it? Was it revealed back in 2017? At E3? Back when E3 was still a thing. So yeah, I hope all these employees are able to get some sort of justice, because it's entirely likely that this was all done illegally. So, hooray! In much lighter news, Acromy, indie developer Acromy, is developing a survivors game, which I don't know what folks are landing on for the Vampire Survivors genre. So I'm gonna coin it as the survivors genre, where very heavily inspired by Vampire Survivors. So you have a single character, you move it in a two-dimensional ish space, and you have attacks that fire off automatically from a variety of weapons. And the goal is to face like ever increasing waves of enemies, and you get weapon progression that helps your weapons, more efficiently defeat enemies. I would even say, and I haven't seen anyone put this forth, is I wonder if this survivors genre is almost like a derivative genre of like Dynasty Warriors or the various Warriors games or franchises, because that kind of feels very similar. The only thing is just that like that's very much an action game, and your weapons don't fire off automatically, and it's a matter of like tweaking a build. Instead, it's you're getting like different weapons and attacks and combos and stuff, and it's more about like a button, a little bit of button mashing. But it is like you're fighting increasingly, more and more dense waves of enemies. If it's not derivative of it, there's a lot of crossover between the two. There's a lot of similarities, connective tissue between the two, I feel. So anyway, to get off topic on what is a survivors game and why I have applied that term for the genre. And who knows, maybe, I don't know, maybe this particular episode will get picked up and people will start calling them survivors games. So what's neat about this game, so it's in early access on Steam right now. Okay. So, again, take it with a grain of salt, early access. a lot of still controversial in 2025. For I don't know, it was like $350. So what's also going with Vampire Survivors pricing, I can get behind that. So I picked it up in early access. I haven't played it yet. I'm very excited to, because the cool thing about this, right, is so in Vampire Survivors you play through like various levels, and they're all very thematic. The Mad Forest, the secret library, the looming tower, and things like that. This game takes place. Articles that wrote about it called it a skill tree. It's not correct. It's not a skill tree. It's more correct. And for those who have played Path of Exile, it takes place in a skill forest. It's just a very broad just giant map of skill nodes. And that's where the game takes place, is on that skill map, so that you go around to various skill nodes to try and unlock them, to unlock, I don't know if they're fully permanent upgrades or if they're just upgrades for that run, but it's just I think it's a very great and cool and quirky, both gameplay and aesthetic decision, to put it on the skill map. For folks who are watching the video version, you can see a very monochromatic color scheme. For audio listeners, I will describe it. So all of the characters are like just in sort of this pale yellow. And that carries over into the game. So it's like a pale yellow with sort of like very, 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 very dark blue, like almost black, like outline, very thick outlines and negative space. But then the contents of all the various skill nodes are in other, sort of saturated flat colors. So like a health node will have like a red heart, and things like that. So yeah, I'm excited to try this out. I worry that the monochromatic color palette will work against it, just because I know later on, when you're playing Vampire Survivors and you're late in a run, there's so many things happening on screen that it's difficult to keep track of when everything is has individual colors. So I would imagine having everything be the same color is gonna, like, I feel like the character might get lost a little bit. But with it being in early access, that's the time to give feedback like that. So I'm very excited for this. Again, it's on sale right now on Steam. It's like a sort of early access launch sale. So it's like a couple dollars. I can certainly get behind that. They're doing the Vampire Survivor strategy. So we'll see. So that is Schedule. I'm going to assume that because it does not have to do with D&D at all, that it is Schedule. Because I assume it's like a quirky play on like skill and sigil, like sigil skill, as opposed to the extraplanar city, which they insist on calling sigil in D&D. So, next up, again, back to distressing and depressing news. Bloomberg, via Jason Schreier, reports that an internal presentation discussing restructuring its overseas publishing arm for Square Enix will lead to mass layoffs in the US and the UK. I guess they are looking at restructuring all of their sort of foreign publishing arms in an effort to reconsolidate back in Japan. And as part of that, likely, Square Enix is going fully all in on AI, which I don't care for. I don't like. And they have said they are committed to having 70% of its QA testing handled by generative AI by the end of 2027. That is incredibly ambitious, given where that technology is currently, especially since like we're kind of at the tail end of 2025. So really, they're like in a year's time. But this also means in a year's time, they're looking to essentially reduce its QA workforce by 70%. So yeah, and like it's known that QA really gets the short end of the stick in the video games industry. It's often, they're often contractors and not full employees, or they're part-time. They often don't get benefits. But it's also usually the first department that ends up unionizing for these very reasons. So, yeah, I'm not thrilled about Square Enix's decision making with this. So it's kind of really souring me on wanting to continue to support them, which, I'm sure like that's a no-brainer statement, right? Obviously, if they're doing stuff like this, like why support them? So yeah, I don't know. I really would have, and like they've been hinting at going in on generative AI and other like trendy technologies before. I remember it was a few years ago they were going to go all in on NFTs. If you remember that whole craze, they were going to try and figure out some like digital NFT thing that nobody ever figured out how it would work for games. So yeah, my hope is that maybe, just maybe, generative AI absolutely crashes and burns before the end of 2027. And you know what? Honestly, I'm gonna be petty. I certainly would hope that it happens, because like if Square Enix is gonna like just continue to lay off people in an effort to pursue this generative AI path, I hope that maybe, I mean, best case scenario is it all burns, it all crashes and burns before they lay off people, right? If it's not going to happen, I'm not going to shed any tears if they go all in on generative AI and then like it implodes. And then they have to, and then with egg on their face, they have to go back and like rehire workers. So good for you, Square Enix. Good for you. For the listeners and the watchers at home, in case you could not tell, I was trying to lay the sarcasm on that pretty thick. Just putting that out there. Last bit of news. Another fun bit of news. Again, at 50% depressing like layoffs and union busting and generative AI nonsense. And the other 50% is more Vampire Survivor likes. So in this case, Game Informer reports that Auroch Digital, and now I'm sure some of the audience might be familiar with them, as they were makers of another Warhammer title. I don't remember the exact name of it. I don't know if it's like Gunbolt or something. But this developer, with the support from Ponkel, the makers of Vampire Survivors, is developing a Survivors game called Warhammer Survivors, featuring characters, weapons, and enemies from both Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar. This one looks it's like Schedule does like a very different art style, but it still has like a lot of the same gameplay elements. Warhammer Survivors, as far as I could tell, could just be a reskin of Vampire Survivors with Warhammer aesthetics. My hope is that they tweak like some of the gameplay and the weapons and stuff to better fit Warhammer. But at least as far as like the animations look pretty close. Because it's using the Vampire Survivors engine. And I would love to see more companies do this, like do some sort of partnership or support relationship with Ponkel, and use the Vampire Survivors engine to do like your own Survivors like game. I think it's great. Looks like sometime in 2026. So yeah. If you're a Warhammer fan, you'll definitely want to check this out, because it's Vampire Survivors is such a great game, and I assume it'll be and it's already proven to be a popular genre that's developing. I know a lot of the sort of in progress screenshots show just a lot of Tyranids. You're just fighting waves upon waves of Tyranids, which lends itself pretty well for Warhammer. So yeah. This one very specifically being assisted by Ponkel is pretty cool. I can't stress that enough. So yeah, I mean, kudos to them. Like, I am familiar with Warhammer lore. I haven't played any of the Warhammer games. And I don't know. I think I'm still content to just like watch other people who really get excited about them, play them. But I hope this game's super successful. And I think it will be, because like again, everybody loves Vampire Survivors, and I think there's a lot of overlap between that group and Warhammer fans. So, again, 2026, still in development. I don't think they're doing early access, or that might be like the early access launch date if they do decide to go that route. So that is going to wrap up our news for the week, which means it's time to talk about Whispers in the Well. All right, so Lorcana's 10th set, Whispers in the Well, is out now. And boy, oh boy, is this it's a fun set. Like I said, I did not win any matches today. The best I did was I had 2 losses and a tie. But the games that we played were super fun. There was a lot of back and forth energy there. Now, granted, that's sealed as a limited format, which I I think we're gonna have to wait and see how the meta shakes out over the next couple of weeks. Um, I think some of the cards are going to be such a menace. And I wish I could remember a lot of the names. But here we go. I'm going to pull up good old Dreamborn. Just to get, so I know it's let's see, where are these? Spooky Sight. Also very heavy Halloween theming in this set. Love it. Absolutely love it. Very spooky. And then the next set, Winter Spell, obviously coming out during the winter. It's the way the sets are coming out. I hope Ravensburger is like looking at the theming around the time of year that these sets come out. Because it's cool. It's cool to get, granted it would have been cooler like a week ago, like at Halloween, but it's cool like around Halloween to get like Headless Horseman and Black Cauldron and Gargoyles cards. Spooky, thematic, love it. So yeah, Spooky Sight is like a board wipe for Sapphire. I think that's going to be a menace because it also only hits aggro essentially. It does not do anything against late game mid range or control decks who are just dumping out big creatures. So that is Spooky Sight is definitely thematic in name as a player that plays aggro. And then also there's like Sudden Scare, which is like the baby version of it. And again, Spooky Sight is Headless Horseman with like classic Mickey like Ghost Hunters, and then Sudden Scare is directly classic Mickey Ghost Hunters. And like I've watched this short, I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched that short. It's one of my favorite Mickey cartoons. So that's just cool. Then they bring back the ghosts and the classic art style for that. I opened up a Black Cauldron today. So Black Cauldron, it very thematic with abilities. So you can once per turn, you can either take a character from your. It's just a character, right? Yeah, take a character from your discard, put it under it, or you can instead like pay an ink and exert it to then be able to play by paying for them. You don't get to play them for free, but by paying for them, you can play any of the cards that are under the Black Cauldron. So that's cool. I was able to do some cool stuff. It's a little slow. I don't know if it's going to be very meta viable. Especially since like a lot of the really scary board wipe stuff against Amber is going to be cards that like Spooky Sight that don't they don't banish your characters. So they aren't going into your discard pile. So that's a bit of a problem. Because like Spooky Sight puts them into your Inkwell. Under the Sea puts them on the bottom of your deck. Sudden Scare puts it into your Inkwell. So yeah, there's a lot of like characters going into your Inkwell. So I wonder if Sapphire is going to continue to be so prevalent in the meta. If Amber Steel aggro in particular decides to shift things a little bit and throw in like a couple of larger characters. Because, toward the end of the game, there were plenty of games where I ended up with like 6-7 ink in amber steel. So yeah, in particular, one of them would be Goliath from Gargoyles, Goliath clan leader, where you basically get Doc's ability every turn. So for 6, he's a 6/5. He quests for 2. He's a hero, notably. He's also a gargoyle. At the end of each player's turn, if they have more than 2 cards in their hand, they choose and discard until they have 2. And if they have fewer than 2 cards in their hand, they draw until they have 2. And then he has the standard Stone by Day ability that all of the gargoyle cards have, where if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, he doesn't ready. Which notably, so obviously the thing that most people think about is at the start of your turn. But this means that if you have 3 cards in your hand, like during your turn, and you try and ready him with an ability, you can't. So that's something to keep in mind for folks. I don't know if a lot of those abilities will be used in combo with steel. But I mean, there's some amber stuff where you can ready characters. It's much bigger for Ruby. But I don't know if you'd use that Goliath to. I mean, it's got a big body, so like you could obviously use him to challenge stuff, but I think it's better to just quest with him for 2 and just have those defensive stats. Being a 6/5. He hurled his Thunderbolt. So great. I can't wait for Infinity, where people are doing both, and then along came Zeus. He hurled his Thunderbolt. I'm stoked. I love it. I haven't gotten any, and it's probably one of the better cards in the set. He hurled his Thunderbolt. Oh, it's like $1 right now. That's doable. I'm starting to go through and be like, I didn't get any of these cards. What's it going to cost to get a playset of them? Let's see. Other notable ones. In particular, at the tournament today, Headless Man Horse was like the tournament favorite. Absolute menace and limited. Will not see any competitive play. But good old Manny is a 5/10 that quests for 1, and he costs 6. Vanilla, no special abilities. I think there was a Cinderella that was opened today. Just not a foil or enchanted or whatever. Cinderella is going to be a menace. Where she costs 4. She's 2/3. Quest for 1. Those stats aren't important. That's not the important part. The important part is at the end of your turn, if you played a princess character this turn, you may put a card from your hand into your inkwell face down. Okay? So you can do a free ink. And notably, it's not you may ink an extra card. It's you get to pick a card from your hand, put it into your inkwell face down. So you don't reveal it. This also means that it allows you to ink uninkable stuff. And so it's an optional ability. And then if you do, right, which is already good. But then if you do, you draw a card. This is currently like a $50, $60 card. I don't know if that price is going to come down, folks. I don't think it will. I mean, Sapphire has already positioned itself to be like the dominant color of this post-rotation meta. And this is just the rich getting richer. So, and then let's see. Webby Vanderquack's another good one. The Floodborn one, where she costs 4, but she has Shift 2. She's 2/4, Quest for 2. She has Ward. That's really nice. And whenever she quests, if an opponent has more ink than you in their inkwell, you can put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. So it's green ramp in a way that we have seen before with like Hey Hey. And does sort of the green identity thing, one of the green identity things of, or emerald identity things of my opponent has more stuff than me, so I'm gonna catch up. So yeah, just there's a lot of fun stuff. There's a very heavy detective theme, more toys for the princess archetype. Princesses might be a viable strategy this go around. But God, I really want like a Horned King Black Cauldron deck to work. And the problem is they put like the core 3 cards that you would need across 3 different colors. So this is Castle of the Horned King is in Sapphire, where once during your turn, whenever character quests here, you may ready chosen item. So it has great synergy with the Black Cauldron, right? Because either ability requires you to exert the Black Cauldron. So that means that like you could get a character out of your discard and then play it the same turn. Very resource intensive. It would cost you 2 extra ink to do that, but you could do it. Black Cauldron itself is an amber, but then there is a Horned King, a rare Horned King, where he's a 2/2 for 2, quests for 1. But during your turn, if one or more cards have left a player's discard this turn, he quests for an additional 2. So you could use Black Cauldron, draw something out, and then quest with him for 3. Seems pretty good. Would be a lot better if you could also splash in Sapphire and then ready that Black Cauldron, but instead you have to pick and choose what you want to do. Notably, I think it might go well in a princess deck because princess decks typically want to run Queen Censor Core. And so readying Queen Censor Core and using it again in the same turn is not a bad source of card draw. And that there's more removal options available to Sapphire now. So that also yeah, Amber got a cool removal item in the Horseman Strikes, where you can draw a card for 3 inkable. You draw a card, then you may banish chosen character with Evasive as a way to just kind of thumb its nose at Dumbo. Although I don't think Dumbo's going to be the problem. So it feels like, unfortunately, that this has come a set too late, where I think Sapphire Steel might turn into the big thing. Or I don't know. Maybe Blurple still has enough tools to stay on top. I'm curious to see if this set causes Amber Steel aggro to just fall out of the meta. I don't know. If it does, I'll be sad because that's what I play. So yeah. Or we'll just have to figure out how to go even faster. Just gotta go as fast as we can. So yeah. The Enchanteds in this set are gorgeous. Like it's one of those where like looking at the images, they don't necessarily look great. But that's because there's like gold foiling on them that doesn't translate to JPEGs. Um, so yeah, sadly, I did not open any enchanteds. We'll see what happens during the draft. Right now, Cinderella, it's the most expensive card of the set at $325. The enchanted version. It's absolutely beautiful artwork. I'm just looking at some of the art. It's great. It's such great artwork. And I forgot to talk about Malicious, Mean, and Scary, which is it's an Emerald Song. It costs 3. Put a damage counter on each opposing character. This is a case where I feel like I may end up having to pivot. Like if I determine that that if Amber Steel aggro isn't gonna work, I might have to pivot to Emerald Sapphire, specifically for running the Floodborn Prince Philip that got reprinted and fabled back from set 4, where wasn't good then, but he's like a 6/6 evasive that quests for 3. He costs 9 Floodborn, as shift 6, but when you play him, you banish all damaged opposing characters. And now there's a 3-cost shift target for him that's also inkable. Because previously, like there was a 4-cost Prince Philip, Warden of the Woods, that also, I mean, he was decent, but as an uninkable card, it was a bit rough. But he gave all of your other hero characters ward. So just the combo of like having your 3-drop Prince Philip that has ward himself, and I think he's like a 3/2 that quests for 2. You can have him sing Malicious, Mean, and Scary to put a damage counter on everybody. Means it bypasses resistance, bypasses ward because it hits everything. And then you shift the Floodborn on top, and now you've just like board wiped. Granted, it's a 3-card combo, but the fact that if you're running Emerald Sapphire, that means you can also do Under the Sea. You could do Spooky Sight. And I think the combo requires Sapphire because you need to ramp in order to be able to do it so that you can keep up. Yeah. Sad thing is, I'm definitely not going to get my hands on any of the Cinderellas. And I think that will be a problem. Because I think Cinderella is just going to be such a menace. Because it means that Sapphire. So like you turn 1, you do whatever your turn 1 play is. Turn 2, you do your ramp, as you do with Sapphire. So then on turn 3, you have 4 ink and you play Cinderella. So then on turn 5. Or no, so turn 3. So turn 4, you're already at 6 ink. Although that does kind of break the thing a little bit because Prince Philip costs 3. And that's like the weird number for Sapphire. Is like you typically don't run any 3-drops in Sapphire because you skip you skip 3, you go straight to 4. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe it's just there'll be enough like people throwing stuff into your inkwell that that you'll just end up at 6 ink. I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like, you know, maybe Emerald Steel works. um, I feel like the big thing with Emerald Steel though is that you don't have enough card draw. Yeah, that's definitely still the big issue. Card draw is still definitely an issue outside of Amethyst. So, all right. And then last up, to everyone who did a pre-release event today, God, that you got a Horseman Strikes special promo, and it's so good. It's so gorgeous. And I wish they would do more treatments like that. So, yeah, just this is me just rambling about Whispers in the Well. So I'm very excited. It's gonna completely destroy my deck. I'm sure. That I worked hard to finally craft and get to a place where I'm happy with it. So of course, like a new set comes out and it might completely invalidate it, and I don't know. I was kind of joking that like if my deck rotates out of the meta, that maybe I don't compete in the tournaments anymore, and I start brushing up on the rules to do the judge program. So I'm going to stop rambling now because we are much longer than we normally go for a podcast episode. So we are going to end things here for the evening and for this episode. So thank you all for joining me very much. If you want to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, check out 8bitadventures.com. If you want to help support that content, the best way to do that is to become a patron at patreon.com/8bitadventures. Big shout out and thank you to all my current patrons. As a reminder, you can support for as little as $1 a month. I do not. So I do a monthly charge. I don't do like per episode or anything like that. Just because at some point I will get back to doing comics and also post those there. I'm not at that place yet, as my children are still small. But finally, our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And with that, we are done, folks. So episode 339 is all wrapped up. We'll see you next week for episode 340. And as always, have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.